Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 155 of D&D Discussions, the podcast for players and DMs alike, where we cover a wide variety of topics to help you with your games. I'm your host, Ryan Rear, and with me, as always, is my good buddy, Ben Bumhofer. Ben, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty okay. Work was pain today, so I'm excited to get in here and talk about fun stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah,
excellent.
These kinds of meetings are so much better than the 4-hour meeting chunks of 5 or 6 different meetings during the day. So
it should have been emails.
2 of them, yes.
Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, this is the best stuff. Just like how over there is my not fun computer desk. This is my fun computer desk, and
yeah, where all the meetings are podcasts.
Exactly, and I get to play games here. So much
better.
Hey,
you know, I've heard it can be good for you, especially if you work at home, to have a different area for work and a different area for
definitely, hands down,
for play. Yeah. Just
so
to get that kind of disconnect.
Yeah. So the fun desk, it has all my Vox Machina pop vinyls in front of it. It's got a Lego Eevee. My PS5 is right here. I got some Grogu stuff. And then on my work desk, I have the Lego bonsai tree, as well as a really cool gelatinous cube statue that Nevermore got me. And then also I have a little tiny Sarlacc in a thing that I got from Disneyland, which is really cool.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
So
Very
still has some personal touches there, but it's definitely, more business and tranquility than fun stuff.
And a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I dream about, throwing coworkers in. Just it's pretty good.
Excellent. Well, we got some really good stuff to talk about tonight.
Oh,
I'm actually really excited. And we held off recording a little bit slightly late because of scheduling, but also it ended up working out well because Wizards just dropped a new UA a day or two ago.
Yes.
So, very excited to talk about that. But first, we wanted to mention I think we talked a little bit about the brand new D&D official D&D actual play that was coming out. Well, that just released its first 2 episodes, not that long, just a few days ago, actually.
But I think Wednesday last week, maybe?
Yeah, Wednesday last week. Jasmine Bueller is DMing, and with an all-star cast that you've probably seen elsewhere. Christian Navarro, Mayana Barron, Neil Newborn, and Devora Wild. So people who I've seen in multiple other things.
Yes, they're very recognizable when you watch it.
Critical Role 20 to Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, little things like that.
Just little things. It's actually really well done. It's the first 2 episodes are in the same video. It's about slightly over 2 hours and 15 minutes, so very digestible.
Yeah, so about an hour long an episode or so.
Yeah. And so I started it. I haven't finished it yet. Ben, you watched the whole thing.
Yes, I did.
So what did you think?
You know what? I gotta say, production value is very good on it. Story-wise, it's in a setting that I'm not super familiar with, so it's definitely something kind of new and everything. Ravenloft.
It is Ravenloft, yeah. It's kind of they're obviously they're kind of trying. I think they said for their official actual play, they're going to try and tie it into book releases, but not necessarily force a story. The story is all Jasmine's.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's telling what she wants to tell just within the Ravenloft setting.
Yeah, and they're using some of the newer subclasses too. There's a I forget exactly what the artificer is, but it's basically the Dr. Frankenstein,
the reanimator,
the
reanimator artificer, Hexblood Shadow Sorcerer, Winter Walker Ranger, which is the one that sounded really cool.
Yeah,
we were talking about that rhyme be kind of cool, and Grave Domain Cleric.
Yep. Yeah. And if I had just looked at a different tab, I could have actually read Reanimator as opposed to try to remember. But yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed it. It was, first of all, acting wise was great. I mean, that's one of the things about when you get, voice actors or people who are like, very role play, very like theater inspired and stuff into actual plays, is that it's different than just, a regular, basement game that, people have been playing for years or whatever, just because, they have that production that goes into it as well. It's made to be an actual play. So that being said, like setting stuff is really great. The intro I think is really cool and designed with like origami kind of cutouts and stuff, really neat. And I'm talking all around the story because I don't want to do any sort of spoilers. It is cool. It is definitely a horror theme to it. But something that I thought was, really cool is that this is actually a really good actual play that gives a lot of information about what's actually happening in the game at the same time. So if you remember from like the 90s, or if if you're way too young for that, then just go with me on this. But back in the 90s,
We're not old.
yeah, VH1 had like pop-up video where they'd have a music video and then they like pop up facts and stuff. Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
exactly the same, but I mean, they had like when someone would say, I'm going to cast this spell, then basically a very, very brief description of the spell would pop up so that, you knew what was happening or what to expect. Also with a lot of the different DCs that they had, they would have like a difficulty rating, and then they would show like what the modifier was so that you would know like what the person had to roll and stuff. And on top of that too, just like other terminology and stuff was like kind of defined and stuff on screen. So it's actually really kind of cool and interesting because I mean, as someone who knows a lot of the D&D, rules, or at least I pretend I do, I knew what a lot of that stuff was, but for someone who's kind of still new to the hobby or is just kind of getting into it, to be like, hey, what is all this stuff? It gives a really good view into kind of that rule set so that you understand what's going on like a lot more than if you just tune into just any actual play without really knowing what's going on, what a DC is, what modifiers are, or just, by saying the name of a spell, wouldn't know what's actually happening at the game table, which I think was pretty great. They didn't need to have like the exposition narrator saying, a fireball is when a giant burst of flame blows up in a spot. They roll 6d6, which are the cube dice. And, they didn't have anything like that. But, overall, it was just really neat. And it was informative and also just very entertaining. And I mean, I just got to say, Neil is just perfect in every role he's in because he was so much fun to watch in that episode or those two episodes. So definitely.
Neil, and I mean, Devore is also incredible.
Oh yeah.
So like a big fan of all of them, and Miana and Christian to a lesser extent because I haven't seen them in as much stuff. I've watched them in one or two different things, and I liked what I saw. So
oh yeah,
I'm very excited to jump into it when I get the time.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, they all did an amazing job. It's just,
And I like Jasmine a lot.
oh
Like,
yeah, oh she's a great
I
dungeon master.
really like her a lot as a DM. Yeah, she's very good. They had the we talked about it, Desi Quest. That was the Kickstarter thing. She DM'd that. She did a little mini series on D20 that was very vampire coded.
Oh,
So,
that totally makes sense.
yeah, if you're interested in more stuff from her, she has done quite a bit, and I really like her style, and she's a great DM. So
yeah, definitely.
very excited to watch it.
And also still, very helpful and like not like super strict to the rules, but kind of adjust and flows. And you can really tell that the group of them are definitely in that like it seems like they've been playing for forever. They're in that very good like collaborative space together. So yeah, I recommend it. It's a really good actual play. I mean, based on the 2 episodes I've seen so far, I'm definitely going to continue it. It's really good.
Yeah, very cool. There is also a little thing going along with it called the Dungeon Masters Zombie Clot Play Along Pack. It sounds like they're going to be releasing weekly packs to kind of go along with the campaign. Essentially, it even says this encounter is part of the Dungeon Masters Ravenloft Play Along Pack, a series of weekly standalone encounters and quick play maps inspired by the show. I won't say too much because, spoilers and whatnot, but we'll have a link to it in the show notes on dndiscussions.com. It's free to claim, so definitely go grab that. No
Yep.
reason not to.
Yeah, exactly. Every sort of little bit is a good thing to have and add to your bag of tricks. And you get two monsters with it and a map and, like a little bit of a tiny little hook. So definitely check it out. It's free.
Yeah, yeah, it's free. Why not? Along with that, just a few days ago, D&D Beyond threw up another article, and a second villainous options unearthed arcana, this time containing subclasses for the barbarian, the monk, and the warlock. They also so they have a little designer insights article. We'll definitely be linking that, and that also has the link to the UA PDF, the survey for which opens up on April 30th. So just a few days after this podcast is released. But Justice, the D&D game design director, had a little snippet on the article as well. That was kind of interesting. So he basically said it's been a joy seeing the excitement from the D&D community of the previous villain-themed UA. In addition to feedback on the design content itself, some fans expressed an interest in learning more about the intent and philosophies behind the designs, or why we opted for a particular design direction. We hope to remedy that in this and future designer insight articles. And some might have noticed that we started to slowly reintroduce more narrative content to accompany these player options, like the rollable tables. We talked a little bit about those last time we talked about the other UA. Some of these options, for example, contain narrative forward tables like the ones that appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything to help inspire players when making certain choices about the character. If you like this direction, please let us know. And as always, thank you for the feedback. Please fill out the UA survey when it opens for your voice to be heard, and they rely on feedback from fans to ensure the content we create is grounded and informed by real tables and to make it the best it can be. So, very cool. Just kind of reinforcing that the best way to give feedback is the survey. I like the little narrative touches.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're a really good way to kind of kickstart your brain into creative mode for the particular subclass or feature or something that you're using.
No, I completely agree with you on that. And the thing is sometimes that's all you need is just like, one little tiny push or inspiration to really like take something and then, alter it, change it, and really make it your own. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about, just kind of those rollable tables, or like how they, I mean, they don't really have it anymore, but how they had, like what is it? Um, like character definition things and backgrounds that you can kind of choose from and stuff. I kind of miss that, to be honest. So having like just something here is like a little bit of an inspiration is really good. It's, gives you that little like tiny hook to start off with and then just kind of run with, which is something I really like.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And we're gonna go through them really fast, just to kind of give a few thoughts on what they have this time around. Ben, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Uh, we're gonna start with the Path of Lament, Barbarian.
Yeah. Like I kind of joked about it at the beginning. This is the subclass for anyone with a tragic backstory. The idea is that basically you're taking, some event from your past, something that happened, and you're turning that bitterness and that anguish into a rage. That's where your barbarian rage comes from. And it's basically the idea of like they're living their life, some unhappy incident or accident or something happened, and now they're dealing with it through their trauma or grief through basically rage, and pushing all of that forward, which is kind of cool. um to start with that, this is one of those things where it's like they're really theming in on kind of a more deathly version of this, with just straight up with the first thing with Banshee's Wail, which is basically when you are raging, or anytime as a bonus action while you're raging, or basically you can just let out this wail, and anything or any creature within you needs to take, roll a saving throw, or you take siphon or psychic damage, and they're deafened for a minute, which is a huge amount of time in combat. So lots of fun there. Level 6, you can commune with the dead, which, I mean, gosh, as someone who, tragic backstory, speaking with the dead seems very fitting. You move along with a horrifying strike as well. Basically, once per turn, when you hit a creature and your rage is active, you can attempt to horrify them. So basically, yeah, if they don't pass a wisdom saving throw, they're frightened until the start of your next turn, which is great. Level 10 is otherworldly anguish, which again totally fits in with that. And you get a couple different things that you can kind of choose from. You have Deathly Wall, which if a target fails its saving throw against your Banshee Whale, its hit points, and it has hit points equal to twice your Barbarian level or fewer, it just drops dead. Just boom, down. Impenetrable Sorrow, which means
That's pretty cool.
you can't be possessed, which is great. And then at that point, you have resistance to cold and necrotic damage while you're raging, which works. And then finally, at level 14, you get your Sorrow form. And when you activate your rage, you empower yourself with undeath. Basically, you have all these things for a minute or until you drop to 0 hit points. So even if you lose your rage, you still have this going on. At that point, you're immune to being charmed or frightened. And if you are charmed or frightened at the beginning of this, as soon as you empower yourself, no more, which works like with mindless rage and stuff like that. So it's similar to that. And then when a creature fails its saving throw against your horrifying strike, the creature takes 2d10 necrotic damage, and you regain hit points equal to that damage dealt, which is pretty cool. And then last but not least, you're just undead at that point. Your creature type just changes to undead, which, because of the 2024 switch or the 5.5 switch, a lot of things are more classified as humanoid, dead, or undead, fey, things like that. So things that affect you at that point could be entirely different than what you're, or what's going on and what's happening in battle. So that's actually a pretty clutch thing that you can do in the middle of that. Just make sure your your cleric doesn't throw out a channel divinity at the same time and try to turn undead or something.
A huge burst to turn undead.
Yeah, of course, at that point you're probably going to be way higher level, not have to worry about it. But still, the idea of that is actually kind of fun. But yeah, like I said, it's taking
I
that
think this
that
is super
loss
cool.
and turning it into rage. And I mean, yeah, the one thing I could see RPing this might be a little hard if you're really leaning into that like pain so much. You might not get the resolution of a happy ending and still keep your whole subclass. But then again, you know what? There's a lot of people out there who are super creative and can turn that pain into strength, and that's kind of the way that this seems to be going.
Yeah, I think the Banshee's Whale is a super cool mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that a lot. Um, and then kind of building upon it and making it stronger. I love getting ritual speak with dead.
Yeah, I
That's
think
kind
that's
of
pretty
cool.
great.
That's very cool. It's just a fun ability anyways and leads to really great RP moments.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this is really solid right out from the get-go.
Yep, I
I
agree.
think it's very, very thematic. I think it's got some really cool mechanics in it. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So with that, we're moving on. Ryan, take a whack at the next one here.
The Warrior of Venom Monk. Um, this is super interesting. So basically, just like like all things toxic. Uh, Warriors of Venom pollute their internal reservoirs of power to become poison incarnate. Contact with the Warrior of Venom, even the slightest touch or a single drop of blood, can be as deadly as a viper's bite. So this is all about poison, or uh, as it says here later, acid. But first, you get level 3 in Venom Weapon. You basically can spend focus to apply a toxin produced from your blood to a monk weapon you're holding. Um, And a creature that takes damage is subjected to one of the following effects you choose when you apply the toxin. Um, you just can slow them. Until the start of your next turn, the target speed is halved. It can't take reactions, and it can take either an action or a bonus action, but not both. Or the target takes poison damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die, which is actually very good as well. Like, that's scaling damage again with your martial arts die. But dang, a no save slow. We were
Yeah.
talking about this right before the slow,
That's
right before the
so
slow,
OP.
right before the show.
So much
Yeah,
so.
that it feels, especially against like bosses or something like that. It feels like there should be some sort of save
Yeah.
involved with that, because that's wildly good,
Yeah,
wildly
like
good.
this isn't a stun thing. This is you get that on you and essentially that just ruins any sort of gameplay or plans that you're having as a boss. It trust me, I know this. I've slowed bosses before and it's not fun for them.
And interestingly too, um, this doesn't actually say how long. Oh, okay, there it is. 1 minute. So it's the whole combat for one focus point.
No, it's so that's
Oh,
until
until the teacher takes damage. So
well, no.
okay,
Until the start of your next
okay.
turn, it's slowed.
No,
So
I'm
you get it
talking
for a
about
round.
the
Oh, okay.
how long the toxin. So the toxin retains its potency for 1 minute or until a creature takes damage from the weapon. Okay, so that's not quite as bad. That's not quite as bad because you're basically spending a focus point to apply an unsavable slow for a single turn. That's not
And
bad.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good if you're the DM.
No, and interestingly, at least based on this, it doesn't cost an action or a bonus action to apply. It just costs a focus point.
Yeah. I mean, you have to call it, but yeah, it just costs a focus point. That's it.
So yeah, that seems pretty strong.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
just a tiny bit. Tiny bit
At
there.
level 3, you also get Potent Arsenal. You get a Poisoner's Kit. You get proficiency with it. You can create basic poison, and additionally, whenever you deal poison damage with a monk feature or monk weapon, and this is the important part, you can change that damage type to acid. This, I think, makes the subclass viable because there are a lot of creatures that have immunity or resistance to poison.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most common things for creatures to have resistance or immunity to. So being able to change that damage type to acid to bypass that, I think is really good and still fits the theme quite well.
Yeah.
At level 6, you get Toxic Touch. As a magic action, you can spend a focus point to apply a potent toxin to a creature you touch. Con save. And on a failed save, they get the poison condition for a whole minute. And then you can choose, while poisoned, the target is affected by one of the following intoxicant. Target has the charm condition for the duration or until your allies deal damage. Sedative, the creature falls asleep. It has the unconscious condition for the duration. And truth serum, the target can't knowingly communicate a lie for the duration. Super cool, because not only do they get at the poison condition, which is an actual condition, but you have a lot of really fun flexibility, especially if you wanted to use this just for RP purposes only with the whole truth serum thing. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I
Very,
think
very cool.
adding stuff for RP in subclasses is something that I'm a big fan of. They don't
And
really
that's
have a
something
lot
we
of
see
that.
super often. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
like it a
mean,
lot.
the closest that we would have would be like, wizards or clerics or someone who, has spell casting that takes, longer than a minute. That's basically RP spell casting at that point. Whether it's like consecrate, which is like 24 hours or, just, the mansion or, something along those lines, it gives you a chance to really kind of RP around it and stuff. But this is something specifically for, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to touch you and then you have to tell the truth now because that's what my monk power is. And it's really cool and it can be used really well. It's essentially a zone of truth that you don't need the spell for and can just kind of do it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, very cool. Level 11, you get Toxin Refiner. Your body can filter poison, gain immunity to poison damage. Very cool. Whenever you're subjected to poison damage, your Envenom weapon options each deal extra poison damage equal to one roll of your martial arts die, and you can't gain the benefit again until the end of your next turn. So it's like if someone poisons you, you're like, okay, absorb, redirect to weapon. Little bit of a like a mini sneak attack almost.
Yeah,
In addition, whenever you ingest a poison, you regain a number of hit points equal to one roll of your martial arts die.
not
Kind
bad.
of nice to go with that basic poison you can create with the poisoner's kit
Mm-hmm.
over 8 hours. So kind of a good way to almost like a mini on-demand healing potion,
Yeah.
especially if you because it takes like 8 hours to make a basic poison. So if you spend like off time doing that, it's like, oh, good, I got 4 or 5 vials. Pretty cool. You also get toxic blood. Enemies draw your toxic blood at their own peril. Whenever a creature hits you with a melee attack, they take poison damage. The attacker does. And if you are bloodied, which is a term they brought back for 5/5, which means you're at half hit points or lower,
Mm-hmm.
they take poison damage equal to a roll of your martial arts die. So even more. So cool use of getting bloody condition in a subclass. I like that a lot. Would love to see more things that do one thing and then do either extra or a new thing when you're bloodied.
Yep.
That's always neat.
And if you change that poison damage to acid, you are a xenomorph.
It's true. That is very true. And then finally, at level 17, hallucinogenic breath. When you take an attack, you can expend 2 focus points to replace one of your attacks with an exhalation of hallucinogenic vapors at a creature within 30 feet. They have to make a con save, and on fail, they take poison damage equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die, and have the frightened condition for a minute or until they take damage. And while frightened, the target takes the dash action, moves away, etc., etc. And on a successful save, they take half damage. We talked a little bit about this right before we recorded. For a level 17, this is the only thing I had a slight issue with because at level 17, most creatures have insane con saves.
Mm-hmm.
Or most things you're going to be fighting have insane con saves. So more likely than not, you're almost never going to get the actual full damage and the frightened condition out of it.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how maybe a different type of saving throw might be more appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I know why they did con just because it's poison. So assuming, yeah, makes sense for that. But I mean, you're right. As soon as you hit 17, it's like I'm going up against things with, just base. We're
Plus
looking at
8,
like
plus 10.
24, 26, 30 constitution or something like that. So yeah, there's a very good chance that that's not really going to matter too much. So, I mean, at the same time, at level 17, for your martial arts die, you're looking at D12. So it's a small amount of damage at that point, but still, that one I think could really uh, use a little bit of a punch up for the kind of save.
I think you had mentioned charisma. Charisma could
Yeah,
be good. I
I
had
think
mentioned
so.
wisdom. Wisdom could potentially be good. We're talking about hallucinogenics. We're talking about being frightened. Wisdom or charisma could be very much the overcoming of that hallucinogenic properties of the breath. And there are and things usually have much the like high charisma or high wisdom saves are not quite as across the board as con is
Hmm.
at high levels.
Exactly.
Yeah. But overall, very cool. Again, very thematic. I think the mechanics are really interesting. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Like it a lot. And then finally, Ben, we have the Primordial Patron for the Warlock.
Yeah, this is really cool. It is basically pulling from the elemental plane, so the inner planes. And the thing I like about this is that, you're able to really theme yourself with, air, earth, fire, or water based on the different elementals. In fact, the elemental evils themselves are listed as, potential patrons and everything. And they each have their own different type of damage type and all that, which is great. Um, the thing about this is that it actually is, I think, kind of different than a lot of different warlock play. I mean, warlocks kind of get the smattering of, play types with their subclasses, based on if it's like a hexblade or, just pure spell casting or, whatever kind of bag of tricks that they get with this. Well, for the primordial patron, they get at level 3 an elemental node. So basically, they can create a 5-foot radius sphere of elemental magic that's centered on, just a point that they can see, and it resembles, whatever your chosen element is. And then, of course, you can move it, as a bonus action, just because, that's what you do, like spiritual weapon and stuff. But when the node appears, each creature other than you has to make a dex save. Otherwise, it takes, some damage based on that. And, it's same deal if something moves into its space, they have to roll save, take damage, things like that. And, it's pretty cool. I think it's kind of neat. It's like basically like a flaming orb that just doesn't go anywhere because you're not concentrating on it. And, stays for a minute unless you dismiss it. Or unless you create another node. So, you can all swap it and change into different things, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, the damage raises, once you hit like level 6 and level 14. And of course, another level 3 feature, you get elemental spells, which, makes sense depending which one you kind of choose. Air spells like Featherfall, Fly, Freedom Movement, earth spells, Entangle, Knock, which I guess works, Wall of Stone. You get Fireball, Wall of Fire, and Flame Strike. Water spells, you get Alter Self, which I guess kind of works because you're, flowing your appearance and stuff. Ice Knife, Water Walk, Cone of Cold. So, it all kind of, definitely thematically fits. There's a lot of elemental stuff with spells. But then we start moving into level 6, where I think this is where it really kind of starts picking up with how powerful this is. And you start off with your elemental node like shields you from harm. So whenever you're within the boundary of your node, you have a bonus to your AC equal to your charisma modifier, which if you're a warlock, you should be stacking charisma. So, you can have up to an additional 5 for your AC, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
On top of that, you get your elemental teleport, which as a bonus action, you can teleport to your node or the nearest space within 5 feet of it, which again, that's pretty great. You could do that as many times as your charisma modifier. So you can just be, popping around the whole place. Then we jump up into level 10, which is the primeval protection, which you get elemental fortitude, which is the resistance to your chosen element's damage type. And while you're within your node, you have immunity to that damage type. So imagine being a fire node and you're fighting a red dragon. You're fine. Just stand in that node. Unless it comes up and smacks you, you're doing pretty good. Also on top of that, the elemental node has a 10-foot radius sphere. So it grows as you level up to level 10. And then the final thing that you get for level 14 is an elemental harbinger, which, I mean, it's pretty great. It basically, the node ushers in, the mightiest of elements, as it says. You get your elemental vortex. So whenever you expend a packed magic spell slot and you're within your elemental node, you can attempt to pull a creature into the node. So one creature you choose within 30 feet must succeed on a strength save, or be pulled up to 15 feet toward the node. So basically you're just sucking things into the danger zone, which is great. On top of that, your node lasts for an hour. And while you're within your node's area, you can cast the planar ally spell without expending a spell slot.
That's what I mean. That's a level 14 thing.
Yeah. Once you
Yeah,
use this
love it.
benefit, you can't use it again until you finish 2 D4 long rests, which kind of makes sense. But casting planar ally, well, just for free while standing in like the feature of your subclass, that's pretty OP. I'd like that. That's
Very
awesome.
cool. Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah. And then of course you get some new Eldritch invocations. Like Elemental Overflow, you get to choose a damage type whenever you cast a spell that deals The chosen type, you can cause elemental energy to wreath you until the end of your next turn, which is, kind of cool. Basically, if something hits you with a melee attack, they take damage of that chosen type. And then elemental transmutation, you can basically change the damage type of spells, which is pretty nifty. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's really cool.
yeah, all of
Like
these are
honestly,
themed really well, and I
yeah,
think they're mostly balanced pretty good. The monk may need a tiny little bit of tweaking, but like overall, I'm happy. Like so much more happier with this set of villainous subclasses than the previous set, because we talked about each of them, how they had highs and lows, and some lows really outweighed the highs, like especially the damage, like we had talked about. These ones I think really kind of fit in and work well with what their theming is going for.
yeah, and I think mechanically they're all very interesting as
Definitely.
well. So I think these are much closer to the mark of like general release
Hmm.
type thing than the other ones are. But good job, design team.
Yeah.
More of this stuff. This is very cool. Very, very cool. Okay. So moving on from the news and new stuff, we had a great question submitted to the Discord that I wanted to touch on because it comes up quite often. Um, so the listener asks, "Hi Ben and Ryan. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how to handle improving a story. Like, how do you guys navigate the waters of, I think my character would want to interject and say this thing right now, but I don't want to detract from this other person doing or saying this right now. In short, how do you know when what you have to say is helping the role play and collaborative storytelling versus hijacking the spotlight from someone else, aside from the obvious common sense courtesy things, of course?" Uh, this is a great question.
Yeah.
This is a really, really good question. And I'm not going to lie, I still struggle with this sometimes. Um, it is sometimes very hard to know when it is appropriate to interject. And the big thing, the thing I think that makes this hard is it differs from group to group.
Hmm.
Because after you've been playing with a group for a while, you're likely to have a much better idea of people's play styles, when to interject into things and when it is appropriate, right? I find when I struggle with this the most, and I'll talk about this a little next, like my RPG gaming weekend, right? I'm playing with 5 different groups for a one shot. It's very hard to get a feel for this type of thing very, quickly, for these individual groups, because people may handle it differently, different GMs may handle it differently. So a lot of times when I'm doing that, I I, I kind of err on the side of less talking, and less interruptions, just to, when I'm not in a situation that I feel comfortable in or that I don't know super well. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because I'd rather me miss a little character moment versus ruin somebody else's,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Um but in general, um usually when I look to interject will be if the thing that we're doing is not super serious, right? We're not in a big character, we're not in a big reveal, we're not in a big personal character story moment. I usually will give myself a little more leeway to interject and put an opinion into a thing, maybe a little joke or a little off-handed comment or something like that. um I'm usually much more careful when we get into someone else's like main story, when the GM is like doing a big lore drop or a big reveal. Like one of the worst things that a player can do is just like interrupt the DM or the GM when they're trying to do some really cool reveal or really cool moment or like villain intro or something like that. Because we want to give them their moment too. Like they players get it, DMs should get it too, right? It's the same kind of courtesy as just another player to player interaction. So I think that like I said, I again it's there's no like carte blanche answer for this, right? It's very dependent on the group. It's very dependent on the situation. If something is more story oriented, a player is having a big moment, unless my character is specifically integrated into that moment or also has strong ties to that moment, I will err on the side of waiting or letting them do their thing. It's also completely okay to let a situation play itself out so that you don't interrupt it and afterwards go, hey GM or hey other player, while this is going on, can I XYZ? That's a because that's a way that you can also take part but not interrupt the flow. So Ben, what do you think?
Well,
What do you usually do?
I mean, definitely, I think we're all in agreement, even the person who asked the question, that, yeah, if it is some sort of big lore drop or like character driven moment or something like that, like you don't interrupt. You let that play out. Um, Taking aside the seriousness of the situation and stuff, for improving and kind of pushing with it, I think the big key right there is improv. So you really want to, if you're gonna jump in, if you're gonna do something, you're gonna have to yes and, which if you don't know what that means, because there's a lot of people who, never took an improv class. Basically, if someone starts with the ball, you're there to support them and push them and maybe lift them up a little bit, or move the ball forward. I don't know, I'm mixing my metaphors horribly, but the idea is that, like, if I were to say, it's like, oh well, back when I was touring Baldur's Gate, I stopped at the Wandering Mermaid, and I was able to perform there. Well, then maybe someone would jump and say, what did you perform? What did you do? What was the crowd like? You can kind of ask questions, kind of pull more information out, and you're contributing by basically opening up the door to more, saying, hey, this is interesting, I want to explore this. You're obviously talking about something from your background, your backstory or your character or something like that. And, like, believe it or not, showing interest in listening is one of the first steps that you want to do, because you don't want to
Active
just kind of,
listening.
yeah, you don't want to sit there thinking, I want to say this thing because it's funny, I want to say this thing because it's funny, I want to say this thing because it's funny, and you're not really listening to what's going on, or if what you're about to do is actually an appropriate thing for what's going on, or will it actually contribute to either liven up the situation, make people laugh or something like that. You have to make sure that it is kind of thematic and going along with what you're doing. It basically, it comes down to, it's just natural conversation, but you're pretending to be someone else. And that's kind of where I think some people have the hang up of, they're really trying to be that other person and like forcing it, as opposed to just kind of taking a breath, relaxing, and just kind of letting it flow out. And I know that that's definitely not a real good description of, like, hey, just do this. But I mean, a lot of it really does come with how comfortable you are, with the group of people that you're with, what the topic's about, and does it relate to your character? Is it something that you want to bring in? Like, oh, you went to the, I forget what it was called, the Blushing Mermaid or whatever. Oh, I used to frequent that place every time I was in Baldur's Gate. I don't remember seeing you in there though. And then, maybe they can talk about how they moved around a whole bunch or something. Or you can talk about how I think I might have caught you at one of your performances. And, maybe add something like, were you the one who balanced the plates while juggling it, and then the drunk guy threw his drink at the stage, or something like that? And you can kind of build something and grow something with that, just as just completely making something up off the top of your head as like you're improving through this. Now, that being said, you don't only have to do it in happy, good, wee fun moments and stuff. You don't want to do something like that, like we said before, when someone's getting their exposition dumped, they're going through the backstory, they're telling, basically a lot of heavy, dark, serious situations, but you can still contribute in those as well. Again, by asking questions, by like contributing, by trying to draw that sort of stuff out, in a respectful way, like you would with a friend who's, telling you about like the bad day that they had or something like that. You're there to contribute, to listen, to kind of, care about what's going on and what they're saying, and help with that. Because all in all, that's all that you're doing in these games as a character, is reacting to the things that you hear. And based on how your character is, if you're the strong silence like rogue in the back, you can just kind of be quiet the whole time. And then maybe when the storytelling's over, walk up to the person, just say, put your hand on their shoulder or something and say, my blade's for yours, or for yours, for you. I'll help with your revenge, and then just walk away.
My blade for yours.
Yeah.
Let's trade.
Exactly. That's how that works. Yeah. But I mean, it shows you listened to what they said. You added your little bit that your character was doing, versus the cleric who might be hearing about how someone's, pushing for revenge, is listening and saying, maybe there's something else we can do. Maybe we can try to, stop them for justice, but save your soul in the process. Or, look at it in kind of a way of helping and, again, lifting up the other character and their story and what they're doing, but work with it for how your character would. Yeah, and don't basically just be like, oh, you're going to go on a revenge spree. Well, I'm going to stand right here in front of you and stop you. That not the way to do it. Even if you're a paladin, a lawful good paladin, there's ways about it to, try to save their soul, as opposed to, stop them from trying to carry out their story.
Yeah. And again, as the question said, obvious common sense courtesy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's just, most of the time, you can read a situation, and it never hurts to err on the side of caution. Even if you, again, like I said, interject at the end, once the event is done.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no reason that you can't do and while this was going on type moment.
Yes. With my dagger, I was picking my teeth, thinking about how I was wronged when I was a child, an orphan on the street or something like that. Like, yeah, you're not stealing the spotlight. You're contributing in that sense. One thing that you don't want to do is, Ryan, do me a favor. Do me a very quick, tell me a story about a heroic deed that a character of yours did.
Well, my mage at one point went up the mountain and felt the aura of a legendary staff. We went up the mountain, we searched through this cave, and we went into a dungeon, and we fought our way through the dungeon, multiple rooms, like 5 of them. There were various undead in the rooms, and once we got to the end, we had to defeat a giant bone minotaur. And once we defeated it, we were able to open the chest that it was guarding, and there was the legendary staff, of which I now have.
This weapon, I also had to go through a dungeon, and it had 10 rooms, and there were, waves upon waves of undead there. And then when we got to the treasure room, there was a dragon that we had to defeat, like you're never trying to one up someone. That's not a yes and. That's a I'm just going to brag and make myself cooler than you. Um, that being said, if you're role playing a jerk and the whole table knows that you're doing that, or if you're role playing someone who's like very deceitful and is like the total one upper guy, like again, super old reference, like John Lovitz from SNL when he's like, yeah, that's the ticket. That's what I was doing. Like, obviously lying or something. That's something different. But you're not going in there trying to steal someone's thunder, someone's spotlight. Again, you're supporting them. You're lifting them up. Ask questions. Um, be impressed in character for stuff like that. Like the right thing that I should have done for Ryan's story said, oh, wow. How long did it take you to get through that dungeon? And what was a skeleton minotaur like? I've never seen one of those before. Just like add to it, give them, more room to draw their picture and bring out their story.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree. Great question,
Mm-hmm. Very good.
honestly. And as all things go, it's a constant learning experience, and you won't always get it right. And all you can do is try your best.
Yeah. And not every
And
table is the same either.
yep, yep, exactly. Uh, okay, if you want to leave us a question, Discord honestly is one of the best places to do it. So make sure to check out the link at dndiscussions.com. Or if you're already on there, they have a completely dedicated show questions or show topics channel that you can throw stuff into that we love to read and often pull from.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
okay. Moving on a little bit. As I mentioned, I believe it was last episode or the episode before, I had my big gaming
Yes.
weekend, my big convention weekend. Very, very excited. I wanted to do a little recap for those that are interested in these different types of things. So it was like a Saturday, Sunday. We did 3 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. It was a lot of RP. Very, very fun. I love this convention specifically because it gives me a chance to be a player, which is very nice because I don't get a chance to do that as much. And I get to try out a lot of new systems as well, which is very fun. So we played Magnus Archives by Monty Cook Games. I did one session of this the last RPG weekend, and same GM, kind of a sequel story. And a few of the players who played in it were in the game again. So it was very fun to get to revisit our characters, have a completely different story, have one or two new people to kind of integrate in. Like I said, I really love the setting based on the podcast of the same name. Um, the system is very, very fun, very horror esque based system. I think it does it really well. It's also set modern day, which not a whole lot of RPGs are.
Yeah.
So I think that really adds to it as well. So very fun if you get the chance to try Magnus. Highly recommend. Then we did Fabula Ultima, which is like JRPG, the TTRPG. Very, very anime, very anime. Very Final Fantasy esque. Um, it was a very like just kind of surfacey, lighthearted anime
Yeah.
game. You had uh, the different things. It went to like 50. It's like it got 50 levels. Like you can go up to 50 levels, and you will multi-class several times by the time you get to the edge of those levels. So we were only playing level 5, so there wasn't a ton of stuff to it. But for what it was fun. It was fun. It was light. Like I said, it was very anime. I don't know if I would personally play a campaign of it, but the one shot was fun enough, and I would probably play a one shot again.
Well, that's
The
cool.
system wasn't too hard. It had a few interesting mechanics to it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then finally in the evening we played Raptor Ruckus, which is like a for those who've played Morkborg, there's a bunch of different Borg type games like Pirate Borg, Blood Borg, Morkborg itself. This was a very similar to a Borg type game, but it was Jurassic Park, essentially.
Oh, well,
Um,
that's fun.
this was the only slightly low point of the weekend because unfortunately the GM who ran it was not super prepared.
Oh,
And they
okay.
were like reading off a lot of the starter little adventure thing for it. The group we had was really good and it kept it from being unenjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get to do near enough. It was kind of bogged down by the GM checking things constantly, and there weren't near as many dinosaurs as I was hoping.
Ah.
And I think almost one of the biggest problems was everyone was separated almost completely until the last like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's no
Yeah,
fun because you have to wait
which was
for your
not great. Yeah,
turn.
because we were just bouncing around constantly. There were big gaps in between playing. Yeah, so I think the system could be fun. Like I think the system is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was just one of those things where with the right GM and the right group, I think the system would be great. I think it'd be very Jurassic Park. I think it'd be very fun. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I kind of I realized that, right? Um so a lot of things that could have been done better, but I think the system itself was fine.
Well, that's good.
Uh the next day, we started off with Mothership. This was very fun. A lot of these games I played this weekend, you kind of roll up characters right at the beginning. So Magnus, we got to use our old characters. There are pre-mades for Fabula Ultima, but for Raptor Ruckus, there's pre-mades. But for Mothership and for the next game, you just roll up characters. Like you have the sheet and you roll on tables
Oh,
and you
wow.
build the characters as you go because the characters are very fragile.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
potentially you
character
might have to
creation
make
needs to
multiple.
be yes, character creation needs to be fairly easy and streamlined. And I like it a lot because you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like you obviously have um some choice in kind of what you're going for. But you do have and you obviously can pick things specifically if you want to, but I find, especially with one shots, it's really fun to roll up a character and then design the personality and the voice and everything around that character that you rolled up
Mm-hmm.
without kind of knowing what they're going to be when you start.
Yeah.
Um,
It's definitely a different kind of challenge, which I think is pretty
yeah,
great.
it's a great way to flex your improv and creative muscles. So for Mothership is very alien. Basically, it's set in space. It's usually like a monster of the week type thing. So there's some deadly monster that is the primary antagonist of the game, and you are all reasonably squishy, right? So it is the monster's very dangerous. Monster's very dangerous. Again, it's alien. It's alien. So I played a droid named HK-48.
Hey.
Mm, yes. Very much based on one of my favorite droids of all time, HK-47. Shout out to those of you who've played Star Wars The Old Republic. Uh,
Knights of the Old
very, very,
Republic specifically.
yes, Knights of the Old Republic. The OG. The
Yeah.
OG. Star Wars The Old Republic. Um, so that was an absolute blast. Our GM for that game, they were phenomenal. We had played with them last year for Bloodborg. They did a great job. Um, the group was really fun and good. Had an absolute blast. Would play again in a heartbeat
That's
for sure.
awesome.
And
The
then our
big
final game.
hold on,
Oh,
big
go ahead.
question. Did you guys like stop the alien?
interestingly, interestingly, we had a pretty freaking. It just so happened we had a pretty freaking tough party. We had like two Marines and then two androids. So we actually ended up almost killing the monster, which was hilarious. And we actually, our group accidentally did more damage to one of the characters than the monster ended up doing to them.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
it was an adventure called Year of the Rat, where we were investigating this casino ship that had gone dark that was called Year of the Rat. And the monster ended up being this amalgamation, rat creature. But one of the early things were these rats, popping out of a corpse and attacking the person who went to inspect it. It ended up being almost a comedy of errors as we tried to help this person clear the rats off, rolled horribly and missed, and did like flamethrower damage, shiv damage, blunt chair damage to this poor player,
Oh
just
no.
trying to get these rats off of it was really funny.
Oh, that's
Really funny.
great. That sounds like it was a
uh
lot of fun.
it was a blast. It was a blast. Would play again. And then the final game, I finally got my first game of Pirate Borg in,
Yay. I mean,
which was
yar.
yar, yo ho ho, good time. Um, and this was a character. This was one of those where we just rolled up a random character, ended up leaning towards like this dude who loves explosives, had a bunch of like little bombs and stuff like that. Uh, my guy's name was Gung Ho. Um, absolute blast. Our GM who ran that had set the table all up with all sorts of pirate themed regalia, and it was very like he was all dressed up.
That's
It
cool.
set the mood perfectly. He's apparently got his own little pirate Borg world, and this like hub that he launches a little bit of a like a West Marches type thing
Yeah.
people off into. So it was a blast. It was an absolute blast, literally and figuratively. So much fun. I would definitely play again, and I probably will play again because he runs games throughout the month, each month as well, just kind of at our local game store. So
That's awesome.
overall, yeah, big thumbs up. Got to try 4 new systems. Had a lot of fun, and I cannot wait for the next one.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time. I mean, all the games sounded really great, and it's a bummer that the Jurassic Park one kind of didn't play out as much as you wanted. But I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, sometimes just those one shots. I mean, like not to bag on the DM, but like if you don't have enough time to really get in there and prep and stuff, it could be a less than stellar thing. But
yeah,
overall though, I'm glad that you at least got to see the system and everything, and know the pluses and minuses of it.
yeah. There was a little group. This was kind of called Local Legends. So interestingly, there's a lot of like actual game designers and companies around here.
Oh,
So Monty Cook Games was there. Um, Several people from their staff were there at the booth. And so I got to talk to them. It was really fun, getting to know them a little bit. And I got a copy of an RPG called Stealing Stories for the Devil, if
oh
you've ever heard of that one before.
no.
um, this is one I remembered it from a Kickstarter they did a few years back. But essentially, it's a no prep heist game
Oh,
where essentially the kit basically has a ton of resources in it for the GM to help put together this heist story with the players. You take like 15 or 20 minutes after you're done, come up with the twists and such, and then there's tons of resources like map layouts and all these sorts of things to help facilitate the RP story when you get started. But the cool catch for this system is that you are all from the future.
Oh,
You are liars, which is a special type of person that can basically affect reality. Um, so something in the past is causing bad things to happen in the future. Like maybe some item or whatever is rippling out. That item becomes the subject of your heist, the
okay.
thing that you have to get. Um, you plan out the whole thing, and then as you play through, you are liars. So you can basically, as you're going through trying to get this item, you can lie to reality, and it happens. So let's say um, you're going into a building, there's a guard coming, and you say, "There's a door around the corner." It doesn't matter if there actually was a door around the corner or not. There is now.
That's cool.
Little lies are not a big deal. It's very easy. Oh, there's a closet there. Oh, that guard uh overslept. Oh, blah blah blah. That security camera's pointing the other direction.
Yeah.
The bigger the lie, though, the more potential for bad things to happen to the liar. So it's kind of like a risk reward type
Okay.
system. The bigger the lie, the greater the chances for big consequences to happen. Like the city had a power blackout. That's a big lie. Everything they lie about happens. So the blackout will happen.
Because
But
it's so much
the
bigger. It affects
damage
more
the
people.
damage
There's
it
everything like
might
that.
do to the person who told that lie to reality is much greater, or the potential for it is much greater. And then there's always a twist because the players know what the rough layout is, what the heist is, all these things, but the twist may be something like, oh, they get into the room to take this diamond, and when they open the door, diamond's there, but there's 20 of them, and they all look the same.
Okay.
So, yeah, just or the Russian mob is there too, looking for this thing
Like
for
another
some
group from the
reason.
future is also there heisting, trying to
Yeah,
get the
that could
MacGuffin.
be 100% be a twist. So I'd always thought it was interesting. I didn't back the Kickstarter originally, but so I was like, I'm gonna grab this
Oh
because I
yeah.
feel like this would be amazing one-shot material. And you can actually play a campaign through like a little story campaign over like 10 sessions. That's included, but it is also supposed to be very good for one-shots.
Very cool.
So I'm excited to try it out.
If you need a
Okay.
player.
Yeah, I mean, I know to call. Uh, so before we wrap up, we also wanted to shout out another video that we came across a little bit ago. Very, very good. Um, it's a Jenny D video because obviously, like, she just does really good
Amazing
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, called "This Game Fixes D&D's Role Persuasion Problem." Uh, it's a fantastic video. It talks about Draw Steel, actually, which
Mm-hmm.
is one I have not gotten to play yet, but I really want to try out. But it talks about how the system in Draw Steel is not just like you do all this RP, you do all this talking, and it all comes down to a single roll that you may pass or fail
Yeah.
for all this stuff that you did, and how that can kind of feel bad, especially if you fail. So It's a great video that kind of talks about how Draw Steel does it and how you can integrate that into your D&D game. So we'll have a link to it in the show notes. Highly recommend a watch. It's very good.
Definitely.
Okay. With that, Ben, I think I've talked about all the things I've been doing. We're on a mini break for my D&D game just because scheduling
Mm-hmm.
has been a bear. School year's finishing up, all that sort of thing. We're going to be doing a one shot in like 2 weeks ish or so, and then hopefully getting back into it. So I'm excited for that. Have you gotten to play though since we last talked?
Still not my campaign. I'm still kind of trying to get back in the swing of things for that. But I talked about it last time how I was going to be doing another D&D day at my local game store. The Disney one shot. So yeah, DM we played it a long time ago, and I'm like, this is absolutely amazing, awesome. The fact that there's like a lot of choice on where to go means it's definitely replayable. And Nevermore and I are both like, if that DM does it again, we need to do it again because there's a lot more to see, there's a lot more to do. We really want to have fun with this. So we're like, okay, great, let's do this. So we signed up. And the idea is that Maleficent and then other Disney villains are taking over Disneyland, and you're, a hero character from any of Disney. And you just kind of make your character and go with it. So at our table, we had a couple who was Tony Stark as Iron Man. He was an artificer. Then Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. She was some sort of healer. I want to say maybe some sort of it was the Celestial Warlock subclass. Maybe I forget. Something like that, I think. Or Grave Cleric. I don't remember, honestly. But she was Sally. Then we had another couple there that was Mando with his familiar was Grogu. And then Mulan as a fighter. Nevermore was Rapunzel, played her as a wizard with the magic initiate cleric, so she was able to heal too, but also was like theming her spells with flinging her hair out and stuff, like witch bolt with fling the hair and jolting electricity through it. So lots of fun. And then I was kind of sitting here trying to figure out really what I wanted to do, and I'm like, I'd like to be a bard. And so we thought, well, maybe Alan Adale from Robin Hood. But then I'm like, oh, you know what? I want a College of Dance bard. I haven't played any of those yet. So I ended up being Hyacinth Hippo, the ballet hippo from Fantasia. And it worked so well and so great. And she was an amazing, dance bards, pretty cool. Not going to lie. Really pretty cool, like doing hand-to-hand combat and stuff while you're going around and inspiring people to do things, and then with spells and stuff too.
Love
and
it.
Stuff.
Love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. So as we go there, we did two different things than we did before. So we've done I think 5 or 6 of the different 11 areas that the DM had kind of planned out. We ended up making a deal with Pete, who was running the train. So we took the train. It was all janky and broken and stuff, but we did that. Went to Tomorrowland. We fought Syndrome there, which was pretty great. And then from there, we went to Toontown and made a deal with Hades to get to save Pluto, which I ended up selling my soul for a week to Hades because he's never taken a tuned soul before, so he didn't know how to do it. So I'm like, well, you can totally practice on me for a week as long as I get my soul back. He's like, deal. So we made a deal, and then that immediately dropped my HP down to 1 and my HP max down to 1. Except I got 30 temporary hit points and I was immune to fire. So I'm like, okay, not a bad trade. I can't be healed, but I'm going in technically full health and I'm immune to fire, and we're going up against Maleficent, who's a dragon. So I think I've got a good, this was a good choice. So we go in, fight Maleficent. I take 0 damage the whole fight. I'm in her breath weapon like 4 times. So I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then, yeah, it was just, it's a ton of fun. I mean, playing through that before was great. We actually had a 7th player with us too, who I don't know if she just came to game day, without signing up, or if maybe like that group canceled or the DM had to, step out or something like that. But we got like a younger kid with us, which was really cool because she was like super interested in D&D and, had her own like level 5 elf ranger character that she brought in and stuff. So she actually sat at the end of the table. So she was kind of between me and Nevermore. So we were able to kind of walk her through things and help her with stuff. And, me being a semi-competent DM, I was able to answer like all of her questions and kind of point her through and help her with stuff and everything, which is really great. And it was just really cool to see such a mix of characters in a really fun game, and then with a newbie as well. And just overall, it was a really great time. And I got to play a hippo and a tutu dancing around, being immune to fire. It was pretty great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
That's just very cool.
I'm
glad
had
you're
fun. Yeah. It's funny because like the last time we played, I like at that point we're like thinking of, new heroes to play and just different things and what you can do. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be funny to be Michael Banks as a warlock with Mary Poppins being my patron? I'm like, that would be really fun. And that's what I was going to do until I'm like, I want to be a bard. So yeah. So,
do it for next time.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll happen again.
It's still like in the back of my mind of like, I want to do this. But then our DM said, oh, by the way, for Halloween, I'm coming up with the villains version where they take over Disneyland. And then so immediately we're like, oh, we need to do that. And then we'll be villains. And I got to figure this out. So.
And you're like, I'm in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Immediately I'm like, I'm in. So right now my go-to that I'm thinking is Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls as a wild magic sorcerer. That's
nice.
What I got so far. I also thought about May's mom from Turning Red as the Titan Druid. If you've seen the movie, I mean, if it's out by then, I'm like, maybe.
Yes.
But yeah, so
that'd be
I don't
dope.
know. I don't know. Bill Cipher though is still just so out there and crazy and fun. I think that would be truly a fun little chaos goblin to play.
Yes. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. Between now and then I'll come up with like, 20 other things and we'll see where I land. But yeah, I'm looking forward to when that comes out too. So I'll let you know how that goes in October.
Super, super awesome. Super, super awesome. All right. Well, I think that wraps the episode up. Man, it's always good talking with you, Ben. Thanks everybody for listening. We love chatting about all the things. Thanks for sending in questions. Keep them coming. It's really great to be able to talk about those as well. Before we leave, of course, though, Ben, why don't you tell everyone where we can be reached?
You bet. Best place to find us is actually, well, I mean, basically every single link that you need is going to be on our website, which is dndiscussions.com. We have links there to our Discord server, which, Ryan mentioned before. Great place, awesome community, lots of fun people there. Also on top of that too, if you're looking for art for your character or your game, we do actually have a character and other art commissions channel that a couple artists have been posting in, looking for, letting people know that they have commissions open. So if you're looking for that there, dndiscussions.com, click on our Discord link. You'll be able to find that. Jump right in. And on top of that, we also have, show topics, questions, anything that you want to just kind of toss in there, or just talk about your game. We'd love to hear from you. We got a great community there. But on top of that, if you don't really want to have everything, be as public, you can always reach out to us on Blue Sky. Links also on dndiscussions.com. The show is at DN Discussions. Ryan is at TBK Zord. I am at Ben Bumhofer. You can find, again, on Blue Sky. And then, of course, if you're just like, I'm really shy, I don't want to let everybody be up in my business, you can always email us. Send those emails to dndiscussions@gmail.com. Again, we love to hear about your games, your stories. And then also on top of that, if you have questions that you want to ask, that's a really great way to get them to us, because, we're the only two people who read that inbox, as far as I know of. Unless Gmail or Google just likes to randomly read our mail, which, hopefully not. Who knows? But yeah. So that's this show. There is another show out there I'd always like to recommend because I'm part of it. It is +5 to Hit. It is an actual play podcast where we're going through some homebrew stuff. I'm running around as a barbarian, and I got to drop my backstory on the last session we recorded, which is not out yet, but should be soon. So if you want to know kind of what Kaladin's deal is all about, that's the place to find out. But as I said, this show, dndiscussions.com, find everything that you need there. And of course, Ryan, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I love hearing about those other systems too, especially like Mothership sounds awesome. I think I want to play that at some point.
Very cool. Very cool.
But, I also love hearing about your games when you do play, so I can't wait till you get back in there as well. Everybody, thank you very much for listening. You are amazing. We love you. You're the best. Until next time, everybody, be good to each other and roll high.
Take care, and we'll see you soon.